Words. Mere vibrations in the air. A fleeting sound and then silence. But some words, some carrying the weight of a stone, they strike the placid surface of your mind, and the ripples they create can last for years. You know the moment. Perhaps it was yesterday, perhaps a decade ago. It doesn't matter. Time is powerless against the venom of certain words. You remember the slow heat that creeps across your skin, the sudden thud of your own heartbeat in an otherwise silent room, even if you're surrounded by people. And then, the echo. That scene, that sound, that look plays over and over again in the theater of your mind, each time a little sharper, each time cutting a little deeper. You replay the conversation, thinking of all the things you should have said, all the ways you could have defended yourself. But it's too late. The seed of doubt has been planted, and you water it yourself with every single replay. Why? That is the deepest, most tormenting question. Why do these transient sounds have such enduring power over us? How can another person, the stranger, a friend, a partner, shake the very foundations of your inner peace with just a few syllables? How can they hold the remote control to your emotions? The answer is both simpler and more complex than you imagine. This is not a personal weakness. It is part of the human condition. We are social creatures, wired from birth to seek validation from the tribe for our very survival. Our minds are conditioned to see our value reflected in the eyes of others. So when that reflection comes back cracked and distorted, we believe the flaw is in us. But what if I told you that this power is an illusion, a masterful trick played on you by your own conditioned mind? What if I told you that the key to this prison has always been in your hand and you've been unknowingly giving it away to others? This video is not about ignoring insults. It's not about pretending they don't sting. This is about disarming them. It's about understanding their inner mechanics and taking back the power that never truly belonged to them in the first place. This is about building an inner citadel, a fortress so sound, so unshakable that no word, no matter how venomous, can ever breach its walls. So join me as we learn how to draw the blueprints.
These blueprints were not drawn yesterday. They were forged in the crucible of the ancient world, in the heart of the Roman Empire, a cauldron of war, plague, and political conspiracy. To find them, we must turn to the Stoics. We seek the wisdom of three masters: Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor who wrote to preserve his own sanity on the blood-soaked battlefields of Germania; Seneca, the statesman and playwright who navigated the treacherous currents of imperial power and exile; and most important for our purpose today, Epictetus, a man who began life as a slave, yet possessed a mind freer than any emperor. These men, confronted by the chaos of the external world, searched for an unshakable inner principle, and they found it. The master key to this mental architecture is a single, powerful, and liberating idea: the dichotomy of control. Epictetus taught that from the perspective of human experience, the universe is divided into two distinct domains. The first domain contains everything outside of our complete control: the weather, the economy, the past, our genetics, illness, death, and most critically, what other people think and do. Whether someone loves you or hates you, praises you or insults you, is ultimately in their domain, not yours. To try and control these things is like trying to grasp water. It is a guaranteed recipe for frustration and suffering. But the second domain, though smaller, is infinitely more powerful. This is the domain of things that are within our absolute control. our beliefs, our ambitions, our values, our choices, and above all, our judgments about external events. Here is where the key turns in the lock. The Stoics do not tell us to be emotionless. They reveal a crucial distinction: the difference between an event and our judgment about the event. The insult that is thrown at you is an external event, a collection of sound waves or pixels on a screen. In and of itself, it is neutral. It is raw data, like the sound of the wind or the color of a wall. It has no inherent power to harm your soul. It cannot touch your character, your values, or the core of your being.
So where does the pain come from? The pain begins the moment we attach an internal judgment to that external event. The moment our mind applies a label to it, saying, "This is bad, this is unfair, this hurts me, this is true." It is this judgment, this internal assent, that transforms a neutral event into a source of suffering. Think of it this way. An arrow is shot at you. This is the first arrow, the insult itself. It might graze you, but it is rarely fatal. The second arrow, however, the one that truly wounds us, the one that poisons the soul, is the one we shoot at ourselves. It is the arrow of our own judgment, the arrow of rumination, of shame, of anger. Stoicism is the art of dodging that second arrow. As Epictetus teaches us, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Let that sink in. It is the bedrock of psychological freedom. The power is not in the event. It is in our interpretation of the event. When someone calls you a fool, that is the event. Your mind immediately receives an impression. In that brief moment, in the gap before you react, there is a space for choice. The conditioned, untrained mind collapses this space instantly. It assents to the impression, accepts the judgment, and concludes, "I have been attacked. This is terrible," and the turmoil begins. But the Stoic-trained mind holds that impression at a distance. It pauses in the gap. It examines the impression as a scientist would examine a specimen under a microscope. It asks, "This is merely an opinion, originating from another person's mind, a mind influenced by its own emotions, its own experiences, perhaps its own ignorance. Must I agree with it? Must I allow my inner peace, my only true possession, to be shattered by a few vibrations in the air?" In this pause, in this interrogation of the impression, you reclaim your power. You cease to be a passive victim of events and become the conscious arbiter of your own judgments. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world who faced daily insults, betrayal, and pressure, would repeat this principle to himself in his private journal, known to us today as Meditations. He writes, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now." This is the key, the unlocking revelation of the Stoics. Unshakable peace comes not from controlling the world outside, but from mastering the world inside, the kingdom of our own judgment. Now that we hold the key, we must learn how to use it in the chaotic, challenging landscape of modern life.
Knowing this philosophy is like having a map to a treasure. But to claim the gold, you must embark on the journey, break the ground, and do the digging. It is not enough to know that our judgments cause our suffering. We must learn how to intercept and transform those judgments in the heat of the moment. Here in this section, we turn theory into practice. we will translate the ancient philosophy of the Stoics into 5 practical principles, 5 powerful weapons for your mental arsenal. These are the laws for constructing your inner citadel. Learn them, practice them, and make them a part of who you are. Principle 1. The sacred pause. This is your first and most important line of defense. Between what happens to you and how you react to it, there is a space, a brief gap in time. In that space lies your power to choose. In that space lies your growth and your freedom. The conditioned mind ignores this space, leaping instantly from stimulus to emotional reaction. The Stoic mind, however, lives in that space. We call it the sacred pause. When an insult is thrown your way, whether in a business meeting, a text message, or a family argument, your first instinct is to react, to defend, to attack, to justify. Suppress that instinct. Instead, pause. How? Simply breathe. A deep inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. Then a slow, controlled exhale through the mouth for 4 seconds. This simple technique, known as box breathing, calms your nervous system and pulls you out of a fight or flight response. In these few seconds of calm, ask yourself these questions. Is this truly within my control? The opinion of this person, in which of the 2 domains does it lie? What is the benefit of an emotional reaction right now? Will it move me closer to my goals or further away? Is an immediate response truly necessary, or can I address this later with a cooler mind? Imagine you receive a harsh, critical email from your boss. The initial spark is the urge to type out an immediate defensive reply to protect yourself. But instead, you pause. You stand up from your desk, get a glass of water, and you breathe. You give yourself 5 minutes. When you return, you no longer see the email as a personal attack. You see it as a set of data. Which parts of this critique are constructive and can be learned from? Which parts are likely a result of your boss's own stress or pressure? With this pause, you have transformed from an angry victim into a calm strategist. Your response will now be based on logic and purpose, not on emotion. The sacred pause gives you the time to respond rather than to react. This is the difference between a slave of emotion and a master of the mind.
Principle 2. Reframe the assailant. Our minds naturally frame the person who insults us as a powerful, malicious enemy. This perspective gives them all the power and puts us in a position of weakness. The Stoics teach us to shatter this frame and replace it with another, the frame of pity and wise indifference. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that people act harmfully because they are ignorant of what is truly good and evil. They suffer from a poverty of the soul. When someone insults you, they are not revealing something about you. They are revealing something about their own inner turmoil, their own insecurity, their own pain. An insult is often a cry for help from a wounded spirit. When you look at it from this perspective, your feeling shifts from anger to something closer to compassion, not a condescending pity, but an understanding that a truly happy, peaceful, and confident person has no need to belittle others. Only insecure people need to make others feel small to feel big. Here is a modern example. You're at a family gathering, and a relative makes a passive-aggressive comment about your career path or lifestyle. Instead of getting defensive and engaging in an argument, reframe it. Ask yourself, what in this person's life has led them to need to pass judgment on mine? Perhaps they regret their own choices. Perhaps they are frightened by a world that is changing. Perhaps they are simply desperate for attention. Suddenly, their words are no longer an attack on you. They are symptoms of their own condition. You no longer need to defend yourself, just as you don't need to defend yourself from a sick person's cough. You can move past it with a calm smile or a change of subject.
In doing this, you have not only preserved your own peace, but you have stripped the attack of its power. An attack is only successful if the target accepts it as an attack. By reframing it, you refuse delivery.
Principle 3. The shield of humor. Nothing disarms an attack quite like humor. Anger shows you've been hit. Silence can be misinterpreted as weakness. But humor shows supreme command. It says, "Your arrow didn't even reach me. In fact, it was so insignificant that I can afford to play with it." Seneca advised that sometimes the best response to an insult is to accept it and even exaggerate it. This strategy completely confuses the aggressor. They expect you to be angry or ashamed. When you laugh and agree with them, their entire script is destroyed. Imagine someone on social media comments on your work. "This is so amateurish." The conditioned response, "You don't know what you're talking about," or deleting the comment. The Stoic response, using the shield of humor, "You're absolutely right. I was trying to pioneer a new style called disaster chic. Glad you noticed." Or if someone at work calls you slow, instead of arguing, you could say with a smile, "That's nothing. You should see me before my first cup of coffee. Snails send me postcards." This kind of response accomplishes several things at once. First, it shows that you are not afraid of the label and that your self-worth is not tied to it. Second, it de-escalates the tension and makes the situation trivial. And third, it puts you back in control of the conversation. The aggressor doesn't know what to say next. You have broken their game and are now playing by your own rules. Wielding this shield takes practice and confidence, but once mastered, it becomes one of your most effective tools for maintaining tranquility.
Principle 4. The insult as a character test. This principle is a radical shift in perspective. Instead of seeing an insult as a negative, unpleasant event, see it as an opportunity, a test, a chance to practice Stoic virtue. The world is your soul's gymnasium, and insults are the weights you lift to become stronger. Every time someone insults you, you are being given an opportunity to practice patience, self-control, wisdom, and courage. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What virtue does this event give me the chance to practice?" Imagine a colleague takes full credit for your work in a team project, implicitly making you look incompetent in front of your manager. This is a blatant injustice. The victim mindset, "This is so unfair. I hate them. The world is a terrible place." The mental athlete's mindset, the Stoic, "All right, a new test. An opportunity to practice patience. I will not react emotionally right now. An opportunity to practice courage. At the right time, I will calmly and factually present the truth to the right person. An opportunity to practice wisdom. I will learn from this experience how to better protect my contributions in the future. An opportunity to practice justice. I will not let this one act poison my view of collaborating with others." With this mindset, you are no longer a helpless victim. You are an apprentice of virtue, turning every challenge into a stepping stone for growth. The insult is no longer something to be feared, but something to be welcomed, not with pleasure, but with the understanding that it will make you stronger. With every test, you are polishing your character and fortifying your inner citadel.
Principle 5. Retreat to the inner citadel. This final principle encompasses all the others and returns to the core of Stoic philosophy. In the end, it doesn't matter what others say or think. Only one judgment matters: your judgment of yourself. Lasting peace and self-worth can never be outsourced. They must be built from within. This is the work of constructing and maintaining your inner citadel. Your inner citadel is your character, your principles, your set of values. It is what stands firm even in the most violent storms. The opinions of others are like the wind and the rain. They come and they go, and they cannot harm the stone walls of your fortress unless you open the gates to them yourself. How do we build and reinforce this citadel? First, by defining your values clearly. Ask yourself, what is truly important to me? Honesty? Effort? Kindness? Growth? Write them down. These are the constitutional laws of your inner kingdom. Second, through daily practice. Every evening, take a few minutes to review your day. Not to judge yourself, but to assess. Did I live in accordance with my values today? At what moments did I lose control of my judgments? How can I do better tomorrow? This is like the daily inspection of the fortress walls. Third, by choosing your counsel wisely. Not all opinions are created equal. The opinion of an anonymous internet troll is not equal to the opinion of a wise mentor or friend who knows you well. Create an internal board of directors for yourself, people whose wisdom and good intentions you trust. Seek their counsel, but treat the rest as mere background noise. When you have a strong sense of inner worth, built on your character and your actions, not on the applause of others, insults lose their power. They become what they truly are, meaningless sounds echoing outside your fortress walls. You hear them, but you do not let them disturb the peace within. Because you know who you are, and your value requires no one else's validation. You are safe at home, in your inner citadel.
Our journey began with the sting of a single word. We walked through the echoing halls of our own minds and arrived in ancient Rome, where the Stoic philosophers handed us the key to psychological freedom. It is not events that disturb us, but our judgment about them. We then translated that ancient wisdom into 5 practical principles for the modern world, 5 tools to build a fortress of peace and self-command. To become immune to insults is not to become hard and unfeeling like a stone. It is to become like water, fluid, flexible, and impossible to grasp. It is to understand the truth that no one can harm you unless you grant them permission. Your peace is your most precious asset. Do not sell it for the fleeting currency of another person's opinion. And now, your ritual. Your challenge to turn this knowledge into power. Take a moment. Close your eyes if you wish. Think of one insult, one label, one unfair judgment that has followed you like a shadow from your past. Not to feel the pain again, but to observe it under the light of your new awareness. Using the principles you learned today, ask yourself, how can I, right now, once and for all, take the power back from those words? This is your challenge, and we want to walk this path with you. Go to the comments section below. You do not need to share the details of the memory. Your privacy is sacred. Simply tell us which of the 5 Stoic principles will you use to disarm it. Will you use the sacred pause? Reframe the assailant? Wield the shield of humor? Use it as a character test? Or will you retreat to your inner citadel? Let the comment section be our collective training ground, a place where we share our strategies and empower each other to build this mental armor. Today, we learn to fortify the walls against attacks from the outside. But often, the most dangerous, most relentless enemy is not outside the gates. He is already inside the citadel, sitting on the throne beside us. The inner critic. In our next videos, we will take this journey deeper. We will travel from Stoic philosophy to the depth psychology of Carl Jung to confront one of the most powerful and mysterious parts of our being, the shadow. We will learn how to face this ruthless inner critic, understand it, and overcome the self-sabotage that paralyzes so many of us. This is a crucial step on the path to self-mastery. For that deep expedition into the core of your own mind, stay with us.